What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 80 of our Tracksuit to the Top series here with Lewis FC. And today I've got for you guys our end of season review for this, our 9th season at the club. Hopefully you guys are good. Hopefully you've enjoyed this last season. It's been one to remember. We had our first season in Europe and it went pretty well all in all. So I guess we'll start with the Europa League. Of course, we qualified for that very much by the skin of our teeth, and we built momentum off that. We've done very well in competitions. And I don't know, we've performed better than I expected to in the competition. I mean, we have a very strong squad, and perhaps to bow out to Fenerbahce 1-0 on away goals in the second leg is somewhat disappointing. But besides that, we made a very good go of it. We did well against CSKA, who are a very, very strong team. If we look at it here, you can see they actually started out in the Champions League and finished third in their group. So to beat them in the manner we did was really impressive. And overall, we only lost one game in the group stage, that being the 2-1 defeat to Twente, which was our first game in the competition. We bounced back well. Memorable wins. The 3-0 Dynamo Kiev win at home was impressive, with Matthew Lewis grabbing 2 and Shea Ojo grabbing 1. But also the result against Lille was pretty nice as well. Some good results at home. Of course, home being the American Express Stadium during the kind of group stage. In the knockout stage, we moved to our own stadium, which I guess is one talking point for the year. A few of you guys asked, it holds 16,000. I'm looking to expand it as soon as possible, really. Let's do it now. Right, so we're going to expand the stadium, so that's good. I didn't expect to just do that then, but we've done it. So 19,000 is what it's going to go to. Hopefully we don't have to move out of it in that time, but we'll just have to see, I guess. You can see here, looking at the matches that we played at home, there were some big results at the stadium, the biggest of which was the 6-1 wins against Newcastle and Brighton. Anyway, just a quick look at the Europa League stats as a whole. Matthew Lewis did finish on the top goal scorers with 8. Unfortunately, he couldn't quite do what Lewandowski did for Bayern. Bayern, who started in the group stage for this competition, tore a new orifice into a number of teams, beat Atletico in the final. Lewandowski, 14 goals for him. That is not too shabby. Anyway, Europe this year, of course, we are in the Champions League because of our performances in the Premier League. Yeah, in the Premier League. My brain just decided to stop functioning. If we look at our Premier League season, a mixed bag. We started off the season really struggling. We had a lot of injuries. We were tinkering with tactics. We were worried. To be fair, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal was a very, very tough start. We bounced back from that well. Went for a really solid middle section of the season where we went unbeaten for 2 fairly substantial periods. 5 wins on the bounce after the QPR defeat from Boxing Day all the way through to the start of February. But also kind of towards the end of October we picked things up as well. Of course, a live comment not too long ago. If you missed episode 75, definitely check it out. But we went on a really good run in the competition, or not in the competition, but just in that episode in general. The 3-2 Suarez hat-trick win against Arsenal, perhaps the most memorable of those wins, although wins against Liverpool and also the draw against Manchester United was very impressive, especially given how we'd done earlier on in the year against those teams. And of course, towards the end of the season, we did tail off a bit, but we did enough, beating Stoke last episode on the last day of the season 3-0. In what was a very, very, very impressive performance. In the other cup competitions that, of course, we were in, we were underwhelming to say the least. We got knocked out by Tottenham in the FA Cup 5th round, 1-0, despite winning 3-0 and 6-0 in the previous 2 games. And, of course, against Norwich, we lost in the Capital One Cup 3rd round. Pretty disappointing about that because we did get to the semi-finals last year of that competition. However, It was okay. It was okay in the end. This season's been a season where I'm pretty satisfied with what we've achieved. So if we have a look at the Premier League stats real quick. Matthew Lewis, 38 goals for the season in 38 games. That is redonkulous. If he can do that next year, well, there's no reason why we can't really challenge for the title, I don't think. In terms of average rating, you can see Matthew Lewis is up there. Worth noting that Alberto Sherry, the Italian, but also David Alaba, both leading the way in the performance charts for Manchester City, who finished above us on goal difference in the end. So anyway, let's have a quick look at past positions so you can kind of see our progress through this year. Of course, we did settle for 4th place, and to be honest, 4th place is probably what we deserved. We had that rough start that I mentioned, but we picked things up. We went through a really stable patch in the middle, and that put us in a very good position to secure top 4. You can see at one point we were in 5th towards the end, but we pulled things out of the bag. We pulled it out the hat, and yeah, we played well all in all. So anyway, a little look at the team. A few people have actually asked about job offers I've had. I've not actually had that many during the span of this save. I'm actually surprised at the lack of them. But at the start of this year, I did get a job offer from West Ham, which I did turn down, just so you guys know. So I'm getting kind of job offers now from mid-range Premier League teams. I mean, West Ham have been in Europe the last few years. You can see they've qualified for it again here. If we look at my profile, you can see a little bit about myself. I never do the press conferences, but you guys know that. In terms of interaction, my doors are always open. Pretty impressive all in all. The domestic player bias is very high, but I guess that's just because of how we did in the lower leagues. Because really, I've not focused that much on English talent. In terms of my actual stats, well, my tracksuit nature that, of course, we started within this series has continued to grow. Unfortunately for us, our mentals are terrible, really, but we've made the most of what we've done with them, and I don't feel the effects of them too bad. That low determination you might expect for me to not get demands, but because of how well we've done in the league and cup competitions, and obviously through the span of this save, I have quite a lot of leverage over the board when it comes to making requests anyway. In terms of my contract, we're on 38 grand a week. A few people, and I see this in the comments of every bloody video, so let me answer it now. People go, well, why ask for loads of money? It comes out the club's wage budget. The reason you need a decent wage on Football Manager is because in order for a manager to be sacked, much like in real life, they pay off the rest of your contract that you're set to serve prior to being dismissed prematurely. So in this case, the more money you are being paid a week means that if the board get unhappy with you, the more expensive it is to terminate your contract, thus giving you more job security. So there you go for the people who I see all the time ask, well, why ask for more money? It doesn't make any sense. It makes perfect sense. Anyway, let's have a look at the stats and the scores on the doors. It's not really scores on the doors, is it? Matthew Lewis, 51 goals in 51 games. Redonkulous. He really outperforms himself. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's not a world-class player, this man. But you can see here, as a poacher, which is how we play him, he's very, very well adapted to play in this position. His good physicals really help him in that regard. His technicals aren't that strong, really, and he's not great in the air, but he just finds space and finds the net, and he's consistent at doing it. I think the fact that he has such good consistency really, really helps him in that regard, and also the fact his pace obviously helps. It does say he's a world-class player. I guess given his scoring record, that contributes a lot towards that reputation, but 51 goals in 52 games if we include the sub appearance, but 15 assists too is just crazy, crazy stuff. Kelechi Iheanacho, the other man to really contribute this year. A lot of people say I underestimate this guy and underrate him. He's a great player. People say I don't play him enough, but 25 appearances is still a substantial amount of the season. 16 goals in that time, 10 assists, a 7.41 average rating. Elsewhere, Manuel Jesus, or Jesus, everyone's been moaning at me to say Jesus because he's Spanish, but he's been a good player for us. He's kind of just been on the bench for when we need him. He's had 13 starts this season. He's done fairly well for his loan. He's returned as much as I expected from him. Suarez, of course, we broke the bank for this year. Had a really rough start to the season, but he did pick things up. 7 goals in the end in 21 games. His average rating really did pick up towards the end of the season, considering not too long ago, really, it was a 6.8. To get it above a 7 and almost a 7.1 is really impressive. Not played a ton of games, but he's done a good job for us. Of course, he did get a few little injuries here and there this year. The dislocated shoulder really meant that he had a rough start to kind of getting settled in, but he's done a good job for us. Definitely going to be looking towards him maybe to contribute a little bit more. Also worth noting, Joe Allen with 6 and a lot of assists for Joe. Unfortunately, his contract's coming to the end before too long, so I don't know if I'm going to extend it because he is 33. I have a tendency to lean on younger players anyway, and his physicals are rapidly declining. He's got the speed of a potato at the moment. So Joe Allen done very well this year. If we look at the rest of the players involved in assists, Eric Sonogo leading the way there. A few people perhaps questioning this guy, saying, is he underperforming for us? Well, his average rating isn't great, but to be honest, 17 assists in 29 starts and 6 appearances off the bench really isn't that bad. Perhaps I would expect a tiny bit more from him, but he's only 24. He's still got room to improve. He's got some really nice attributes all in all, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the table kind of this coming year. You can see he's a well-known name across the world. He's a world-class player. He's a very consistent. We just need more of that consistency. We need him to be consistently good instead of consistently average. I can't talk. Anyway, Juan Carlos Leon, the next man to talk about, the Mexican, the 21-year-old, the beast from the... I was about to say the beast from the east, but Mexico's in the west. The best from the west, that works. 10 assists for this guy in 29 appearances in the league. A 7.49 average rating in the league. That is a very, very impressive stat, especially given kind of debatably, I guess, his lack of assists. He really does contribute a lot more than would be kind of suggested from just looking at his stats. China done well this year. The Brazilian who we signed from Mexico, whose name's China. I love saying that far too much, but he's been a good player for us. It's kind of become a second choice, kind of backup player, I guess, in terms of we bring him on off the bench, but he's going to do a good job for us, much like Batagelli in some regards. A lot of people in the comments recently have been commenting about my defence. I actually don't think I'm going to be changing the defence too much this year, which might sound a little bit weird, but I'll explain that in a second. Because we have got Gaston Romero, who we signed. He's good, but he's not been incredible for us. He joined us for £2.6 million. I might try and turn a quick book for him. Pedrera on the left-hand side has been really, really impressive for us. One of the real standout players. Very excited by this talent. He's only 19, loads of time to improve. Reitmeier, he's been a bit hit and miss. He isn't good when it comes to big games, but he's consistent other than that. And 29 appearances this year. He's done quite well, the youngster, so we're going to be sticking with him. And then kind of Insua's doing a good job for us. I don't know if I'm going to renew the loan, because we've got players like Harayan still, the Armenian, He's done a good job for us, the 30-year-old, really. He's been at the club a long time now, really. 3 years of kind of consistently playing at least half the games pretty much every season. I like him. So, in terms of the overall squad, I'm pretty happy. We've got a few players coming in who are going to be big players for us. The big one really is Alexander Haas, who we approached to sign. We've got him coming from Sevilla. My big worry with this guy is the fact he didn't score this calendar year. Now, we did have a few injuries, which I'm hoping he's going to put behind him. We're giving him quite a substantial wage rise. It's in the region of £80,000, but he's coming in on a free. I'm very excited by the German, and I think he's going to add to our strike force. My worry is that he might kind of oust Kelechi Iheanacho just a little bit out of the side, but I don't know. We'll have to deal with that, I guess, as it comes. In terms of how I see the team changing this coming year, I'm contemplating switching to 3 at the back with 3 centre-backs and playing a kind of 3-5-2 or 3-4-1-2 with Sonogo playing in behind 2 strikers and a wider midfield. I'm not sure on that yet. I think a defensive midfielder might be in order. We also lack anything down the right-hand side. Haas can play right mid, so that's an option there. But the right mid position is definitely the position I need to find a player for, and fairly fast if possible. But yeah, that's what's been going on at the club this year. Just a quick look at the club info so you guys can see exactly what's been going on behind the scenes. Obviously, 4th place this year, an improvement on last year's 7th. We have got a few other players coming in, but the players who I've taken punts on, really. We've got some decent money, though, to bring in some players. £18 million transfer budget, £150,000 wages a week. Of course, we are at the Lewis Stadium now. If we look at the club's general info, you can see highly professional squad, which is really, really good. We were predicted to finish 6th this year. Of course, teams like Arsenal really underperformed and Liverpool didn't perform great, so that offered us a way into the top 4. Our financial status is rich. Chairman loves the club. We have a little bit of a loan debt to pay off, but our value more than covers that, really. In terms of legends, we are a legend, and icons, Matthew Lewis, Alex Samuel and Iheanacho. Alex Samuel currently playing in the reserves, but I'm probably going to let him go at the end of this year, to be honest. A good player for us, but with Haas coming in and with Suarez, Haas, Lewis, Iheanacho, he's just not going to get the first team football he wants. So, shame to see him go because he's been a good servant to the club for a number of years. But he's just not good enough at this point. It's harsh to say because he joined us in League 2 and really did perform well for the first 3 years, really. Even in the Championship, he contributed. But since we've been in the Premier League, he's very much been a background player, and I'd much rather see him go and find himself a club where he's going to be valued a lot more as a player. Other players still at the club. Lewis Thompson's still here. Not on a contract. We're just paying him £4,000 a week to sit in the changing room. He's kind of the face behind the club. And Maleba as well. He's just been sat at the club for a long time now, not really doing anything. But he's happy to sit there. I'm happy to pay him, a few £1,000 a week to share a pint with at the end of the week. In terms of regens, I've had a lot of people asking, what about the young players you've signed and stuff. if I've not talked about them, they've not broken into the team, unfortunately. We have been upgrading our facilities a hell of a lot. If I just go back to the club screen and facilities, we have good corporate facilities, impressive training facilities, great youth facilities, good junior coaching, and above average youth recruitment. But you wouldn't know it, because our recruitment's been average at best. But I'm hoping that will slowly improve. Again, I'm still looking to improve those facilities and stuff to hopefully help us advance. In terms of best young prospects in the team, well, we've got a few, I guess. Pedrera kind of steps out. We've also got Mitchell, the young German here, who I think might be ready for first team football next year, or at least a little bit, because he's got a lead in Premier League potential. He's consistent. Big matches might be a question mark, but he's young and my assistants really rate him to have potential, so definitely look out for him breaking into the side. We also have Roberto, who we signed for £10 million at the start this year, and I might loan him out this year. I might just keep him because I want to focus on that stamina and natural fitness kind of training regime to really help him hopefully overcome one of his big glaring weaknesses. But I am very worried that that is a transfer that is definitely not going to pay off. He has potential, but he's just not improving. He's not happy with his training workload. I'm trying to work him harder. He's inconsistent, injury problems. It's a big kind of red exclamation mark over his head at this point. Like, it's not good, is it, for him? But anyway, I think that's going to wrap things up for this end of season review. I kind of feel like I covered a fair bit this episode, but I say that every episode and you guys always find something I forgot. If there is something I forgot, I apologise. I try my best. Please don't hate me. I guess we'll end off this episode just by taking a look at the club records. Not managers, records. Here we go. So if we go to overview, you guys can maybe pause it if you want to have a look at this. I don't think I've shown this screen before, but highest league position. We were first at one point in the league 2 or 3 years ago. Highest fee spent was for Suarez. Highest fee received was for Mijailovic. You can see some other stats here. Stuff like highest scoring game, best sequences, assists, fastest goal, which was Matthew Lewis in 12 seconds. I think that was a live com actually, now I think about it. But yeah, there's a few other bits and pieces here. David Proctor, youngest ever player. What happened to you, sir? You went to Brentwood. You poor soul. But no, you can see some of the stuff here. But hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. Let me know where you think we can finish next year if you've got to the end of this episode. Where in the league? I'd like to think a title challenge might be on with the right additions. Obviously, I'm eyeing up a potential system change. We'll see how that comes about and if I can find the right players for everything that I would like to kind of, I guess, do with the team. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Next episode, of course, will be the start of next season. I look forward to seeing you guys then. If you've enjoyed it, smash the like button. If this is the first video you're watching, which I don't know how you've got to the end of this video and never watched a video before of mine, hit the subscribe button. And other than that, it is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.